down with Youngbuck.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'm joined by the coach, Youngbuck, and holy moly, man, Fnatic pushed you guys to the limit for, I think, the first time that we've seen in a long time. Was that surprising to you how Fnatic came out the gates today?
Yeah, it was quite surprising. I think we had prepared very well, and it felt like we took them really serious. So seeing them being able to contest us was quite a surprise. But you know, credit where credit is due. It was actually due to their play, and we also had a little bit of unforced errors. So it's a little bit of our mistakes, but I think they actually played very well. And if they had won, they would have just been the better team today.
Absolutely, but you guys managed to eke it out over the top, and even though it was a 2-1 victory, you keep that streak alive. Managing specific things too. It seems like you came prepared to deal with the Fiddlesticks banned in Game 1. How did you deal with it in Game 3?
Well, we didn't really think that it was an overpowered pick, but we went into the draft with an idea that we wanted to trade Shen for Nautilus and Rengar for Graves. So we didn't want to get any weird trades, so we just decided to ban target bans, and we noticed that he was playing Fiddlesticks a lot in solo queue, so we just said, hey, we have nothing really to ban. We just wanted to leave everything open ourselves so that we can just have a really decent draft and play against a decent draft, and we'll just try to be the better team. So we tried to just have like an equal draft. And then in Game 3, we had to make adjustments because turned out to be a really good Shen player, and his team worked really well around the Shen, so we just had to adjust for that. And the same goes to Reckless with his cannon. It was just so much of a hassle that we had to adapt and leave the Fiddlesticks through.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to unpack because of how crazy, how long and back and forth the series was. How did you get the players focused? How did you get them to get their heads back in the game after that unexpected loss?
I think they knew where the mistakes were. We just had a lot of unforced errors in the bot lane. When we had allowed the Shen to TP freely and then get the bot lane tower after getting 2 kills. So first what we did is we reviewed the draft, and after that everyone was just back to 100% because we have a perfect record to uphold.
Absolutely. I mean, there's been a lot of buzz about it right now. You guys are 1 game away. How important is it for you as a coach to see this team go undefeated in the split?
I mean, it's just fantastic to see their growth, especially after Worlds. We had a big downfall, so to see them being able to climb back and not just keep going downhill is really something that makes me proud of them.
Absolutely, you should be proud as a coach, and honestly, you're right there with the team, and now you guys are scooting off into playoffs looking really great. Is there anybody you've got an eye on for this playoffs? Maybe it's Fnatic. Well,
I think that H2K and Unicorns are very close to us, if not even to us. People are maybe overestimating us or underestimating H2K and the Unicorns. And Misfits has their good days and sometimes their bad days. So on a good day, I think they can contest us too.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess it's still wide open. We have a lot to see from in the playoffs. And were there any big surprises for you? Any teams that you didn't expect to make it come the start of the split now to see how it's all shaken out towards the end?
I actually didn't expect Misfits to do as good as they did. Usually a new challenger team struggle a little bit, even though maybe I shouldn't be saying that as a coach who came from challenger and won a split. But yeah, usually it's really hard to transition to LCS, so I didn't think they would actually get second in the split, like in their groups that easily. On the other hand, I'm a little bit disappointed in Splice.
Okay, well, interesting insight. One last one for you before we head it off. I noticed after the game was over, Ocelot presenting you with the scarf. I guess it's kind of been something that he was synonymous with. Is this going to be a new tradition now? You get the scarf when you get the wins?
No, I'm not a scarf guy.
Okay, fair enough. So you won't be collecting them all. All right, congratulations once again on the win, Youngbuck.
Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, though, we're going to go ahead and send it off to the post-game lobby.
Thanks, Pyra, and welcome to the post-game lobby. I'm joined by Deficio and Splice's Trashy for a closer look at today's games. Now, gentlemen, I think we have to start. What do you?
I'm trying to go down a bit. I realized because I'm on Stress's chair, I'm like really high up. There we go.
All right, thank you for a look behind that. Well, let's talk about that second series of the day. First, Fnatic, G2. Surprisingly close. Martin, just fix your chair. Trashy, what were your thoughts overall on the series?
A lot closer than I would expect, but to be honest, Fnatic played a lot better than I expected them to play. But I also think G2 didn't really play that well. But I'm sure that Deficio, as a great analyst he really is, can probably elaborate a bit more on this.
Well, I kind of agree. Like, that's what makes me a great analyst. I agree with Trashy here, but I think, first of all, if you're G2, like, let's be realistic, they don't really play for anything other than keeping this like streak alive. So I think if you're G2 as well, like, Youngbuck said this in one of the interviews he had last week. He's like, coming into playoffs, you don't want to burn out your players. They went to IEM, they've been practicing super hard for like 6-7 weeks, and they have another week preparing for playoffs. So like, you can slow down a little bit right now if you are G2, and make sure that you know, you're ready for players. Like, I don't think they came in and super prepared for Fnatic.
Well, it's interesting because I actually took the chance to talk to one of G2's assistant coaches, Alex Sharks, before the series, before the games this week, and I asked him, hey, these two teams you're going up against, they don't look the strongest. How do you feel about this? And he told me, we take every game just as seriously.
That's coach talk.
We want every moment of practice. Well, yeah, that coach talk's going a little bit against, we
I'm
want
just
to
saying.
burn our players out before the playoffs.
But the other coach, Youngbuck, the head coach, said the other thing. He was like, you had a relaxing week, you know, coming into last week, and they got the win against Giants. I don't know how Yamada Cannon is right now. He's probably kind of whipping the players because they need to try and
I mean,
get
did
as
you
good
see
as possible.
you probably saw the mic check? That is kind of how he treats us.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn. Do you enjoy being a pro player?
Most of the time, yeah.
But not when he does.
Yeah, that's kind of the...
Yeah, that's how it goes down a little bit.
Are we doing reflections with Trashy right
We
now?
are right now. You may leave. You may leave. I'll take over.
I can step back. Well, when we look at the series, we have to award a player of the series, and I feel like for me and Trash at least, this was 100%, and we're going to give it to Perkz, and I hope that you agreed the same.
Yes.
Yes. That's what I wanted to hear. Now, I think that his team fighting in those last few moments when Leblanc was trying to find a way into the backline was just absolutely immaculate. Overall, how did you feel he performed that series?
Fantastic. We actually talked a lot about it in game. Like how hard it is to play things like Syndra in the late game when things like Camille is jumping you. You have like flanking LeBlanc all over the place. Fiddlesticks ulti in your face. Like you have a cleanse, that's your survivability. I think he did a great job. He landed some really crucial stuns. He was able to kind of zone off Caps multiple times. He won his lane in especially the second game really hard. I think Perkz played really well. And I think right now, as much as people like to criticize him before, I think he's performing at an extremely high level at the moment. And we're looking much more like a spring split Perkz from last year in terms of his actual impact on the team, where he was such a key player for them. And
I think a point as well is that he's playing Syndra 3 times in a row, and in the past as a champion, he has been struggling a bit on. Like I remember at Worlds, he didn't really perform well on Syndra, and it's good to see him perform on the champion because what most people don't see behind the scenes is like I get the pleasure to scrim against him a lot, and I see that he's playing well on this champion in scrim, and then sometimes he goes on stage and doesn't really have good games, and then that can kind of go in your head in a way and make it so you're not going to perform as well on the champion. So I think for him it's very positive that he plays well on Syndra.
I was kind of surprised Fnatic gave into him also in game 3. Now, I respect mid laners like Cap saying, just give me LeBlanc. You know, I'll take that matchup, it's fine. But after the 2 games where he did well on it, I think, I mean, it's hard to, I'm not going to blame the pick and ban phase in any way, but that's when normally in a series you see someone remove that champion. Same like if someone gets nerfed 5 times in a row, then you tend to
It's weird to me because we spent the majority of the game talking about how we're like, okay, we thought LeBlanc was dead. But Exile's bringing out, Caps is bringing it out. I mean, is this still a viable pick? I know none of us are mid lane mains here, but we're seeing it now.
I mean, I play a really good Syndra. And
LeBlanc.
We're talking about LeBlanc.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a great Syndra, though.
He is a good Syndra, though, guys. Don't worry. Trashy is a great Syndra.
Like,
but LeBlanc, can we talk a little bit about this champion? I mean,
she's clearly viable, obviously.
Is it just the mobility of the kit that makes her so good? Because we've seen the proto build Lichbane, we've seen now the more standard build, kind of abyssal into standard mage items for.
It's one of the most annoying champions to play against because it's so mobile and all over the place, and people have kind of changed the build path with this proto build, Lichbane, where you can find the last burst you maybe needed from the W nerf. And we also saw it in Korea, I think, earlier today.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a pick that is viable.
And let's remember that the main thing that got nerfed was her W damage. Before that, it wasn't just W that was strong on her. Like her Q damage with like Q, ulti Q is obviously really good. If she gets like a double chain proc as well, that does a lot of damage in the late game. She still has those abilities. And that's what we see them use. Like, I never see them use distortion as, oh my God, he just won the game because of this distortion, like in the past. We see them pick targets like left and right, just one target. Go in, chain Q, passive procs, then you apply another one from your ulti with Q, and then you burst down like Mythic. It happened multiple times in this game. We've seen it before from Caps as well. So the single target burst is still there, and it's still very strong.
It's kind of exciting to see a pick come out too, as you said. Very interesting to watch. We'll see if it continues to be popular as we move forward. But I kind of want to shift our attention now to the first series of the day. Trashy, you had, I think, a lot to say. We had to cut you short because we wanted to check out Fnatic versus G2. But for you, what do you felt like were the biggest issues? We talked a little bit about yourself before. Now for Splice as a team, what do you feel like you guys learned from that series? What do you think you can take away from it?
Ooh, I think I was actually really happy overall with how we played the early game of all games. I feel like we have been improving the early game a lot, and I think in all games we actually had early leads. So in that regard, I was happy with it. But our mid game, especially game 2 and 3, were really bad, and a lot of people will look at it as like, oh, we shouldn't play Kennen, maybe we should just play a tank. But honestly, I think we just played the map wrong and didn't really give space to Kennen for Kennen to win split because we were kind of, they were all the time getting mid priority, and we were kind of caught off guard where they could like rotate in between, and we were just not decisive enough, I think.
So do you feel after game 2, when that was the problem, like you couldn't really get like the split push set up, Kennen was in the side lane a few times and got ganked by Rengar. I assume the plan was to have time Ken's ulti in to then save Kennen if that happened. Do you feel like then maybe coming into game 3, in hindsight, you should adapt it and said, okay, maybe the Kennen right now is not the choice?
Not necessarily, because I think in the second game when we had Tom and they had Melsaha, we couldn't pressure mid, and that kind of made Tam Kench really useless. So we actually thought we could still execute it, and that was kind of why we sticked with, also because Kennen has a really good matchup against Rumble, especially on the side lanes. So I know you guys want to say like, oh, we should have drafted something else, but this is kind of style we like to play, and I think we just executed poorly.
I think the thing we discussed was, could Gnar have been better? Which is a little bit similar when it comes to Kennen in the matchup. Like, he also wins the side lane with the split push, but the problem is, again, if you don't have any sort of control, you're never going to set up an Gnar ulti, like, ever.
Before we shift away from pick and bans, because I think the whole game changes, right, if we change a single pick and how it's played out. Do you feel like if you ran that same composition, played that same game again, that Splice could have won if you had changed a few of the things that you did in the game?
Yes, I think after we won the fight in top, I felt like we were stronger in the 4 mid when they were just grouping, and I think if we were just playing more confident than just going for the fight in mid, we could probably win the game.
I think it's fair to say, but now looking over to the Gnar, looking over to changes in pick bans, do you think it would have been easier for you to change your play in the game, or is it easier for you to kind of shift to a different pick ban strategy there?
I mean, if you have a guy like Wonder, who is very known for his Gnar play, then that would be the easiest solution, right? But we don't really want to make the game too easy, so.
That's smart. I respect that.
So it's a challenge.
They're saving it for playoffs when they need to make the game easy.
Right now I feel like we as a team is kind of undervalued in a lot of people's eyes. Like people think there's like a clear top 4, and we are kind of like slowly grinding in scrims and getting better and fixing some of our issues. And I don't think teams can underestimate us and have a good time because I think this week is kind of the week where we wanted to test ourselves against the top teams in our league, in our group. And then all that matters is the playoffs. And if we can fix the mistakes we'll do this week into the next week when playoffs starts, then I think we will look good in the playoffs.
It's fun you say that now people underrate you, because I think coming into the split, myself included, ended up overrating you guys.
For sure.
Obviously, we're like, the power ranking me and Crepa did coming into it was like G2 and Splice were the highest tier, because we were like unchanged lineup. They were one of the best teams last split. We're like, this should be really good for Splice, especially early on, because they should have kept a lot of like, you know, that synergy that we saw from also Worlds with all the practice. Obviously different meta than changes in it and so on. But it then obviously didn't work out for you guys for quite a few weeks. I don't think it benefited you guys a whole lot that the meta, and I never felt like Wonder and you could do what you're doing now and the start of the split when it was a lot of like Maokai, these kind of picks, where now it's a bit better. I
think, honestly, a lot of the reasons why we were playing poorly in the start was mainly I was not playing very well, and I felt like the meta in the start of the split was very jungle focused, and if the guy that is supposed to carry is not playing that well, then you're not going to look very well. But I always look at it at a way where sure, we didn't look very well in the start, but we can always fix the issues. And I think right now, in the past couple of weeks, I've been playing a lot better. And going into playoffs, I'm pretty confident that we can at least play up to any team.
So you kind of brought up that you feel like people are counting you out very quickly from the top 4. If you're going to break into the top 4 as a team, who do you think you're going to take down to do that between Misfits, H2K, G2, and the Unicorns of Love?
I think right now, the teams in our group B, is very close, like the top 3, and then Misfits, I'm really not sure because last week they didn't play that well, but it's a team that on a good day can play against anyone as well. So I think the point is that we have so many teams in EU right now that is super close, and it's going to be super exciting for players because whoever is going to play better on the specific day is probably going to take the series. So I have a really hard time actually rating teams 100% because it's a lot like day-to-day basis.
This actually reminds me a little bit of Spring Split last year. You guys' first split where you guys didn't make playoffs, but we had like 6. We had basically a top 6 and bottom 4 for the entire split. And we had a bit of the same issue we had in this one where the bottom teams just could not beat the top teams. I think it wasn't until week 8 that a bottom 4 team took 1 game off a top 6 team, and there was elements like beating Vitality or something. But then we were like, okay, these 6 teams are super even, they're going to playoffs, there's going to be some very close BO5s. So much can change for that 1 week where you prep for the first BO5. Vitality were this like second, third best team entering playoffs, if you remember that split with like Kissing and these guys.
It was with Shook and Nuke Dog.
Yeah, Nuke Dog as well. And they collapsed in the first quarterfinal completely. And the same can happen here.
It's very true. But now, of course, because of the changes in schedule, teams don't have the same luxury of a whole week off for prep time. Do you think we're still going to see these massive changes coming into playoffs when teams aren't going to know their opponents really realistically until the end of this week, short of some teams locking on say, Saturday?
I mean, we probably don't see players perform worse individually because it's just 1 week. But I think pick and ban phase in best of series is just so important. And while it's just a week, like if one team is figuring out the other team already before the series even start, or if they come in with bigger champion pools, more ways to adapt in the series and really understand what the meta is or what kind of style you need to beat that team, it can quickly become 3-0s. Even if they are actually very close. Let's just take Splice Misfits as an example. Like, let's just say you guys have figured them out completely. Even if you guys are super even in terms of overall level, a good draft on one side can be enough to swing it completely in that team's favor. And I think we see that quite often.
Now, I'm curious, Trashy, how you feel now with slightly less prep time to prep going into the quarterfinals. Do you feel like that's going to affect the scale of what you plan and prepare for a specific matchup? How does it affect you?
Obviously, you can't go as deep into prep for the specific team you're going to play against. So I don't think there's like going to be huge changes in terms of like pick and ban and stuff. So it's about finding like the small openings in draft that will really shift it. And the funny part about it is like, for example, right now we're looking at third place and we will most likely play against Misfits, which in this week we scrimmed against. So there are like a lot of things that you have to consider going into draft and into the games overall, and it's basically just whoever is coming down with the best plan for the games.
All right, well, we're talking a lot about the standings, looking towards the playoffs. Let's take a chance now to look at the standings at the end of the day, figure out if there's been any massive changes coming through here. And the answer is no!
Hey,
no,
surprise!
They're not any.
Surprise.
Nothing is confirmed or locked yet. Fnatic are incredibly close to locking playoffs. However, Roccat, if they do beat G2, are suddenly in a very good position to do so, but Fnatic then have a chance to strike back against Misfits on Sunday. Overall, guys, is this how you think the season is going to finish as we see it right now, or are there going to be any major changes?
There will definitely be a lot of major changes in the standings.
Right? I think it's going to end exactly like this, because actually Unicorns winning today kind of made that race for the spots in Group B kind of a little bit less exciting for the overall broadcast, because now Unicorns is playing Vitality. Expect them to win that series, they lock first.
Well, Misfits, I have been now updated by our team that they are locked in second place.
Yes, so they're not moving either.
Yes, because of Fnatic's
and
loss
Roccat
today.
needs to beat G2 to move further up, and then Fnatic needs to 0-2.
So Roccat are all but out of playoffs at this point, so I think we are kind of seeing...
Almost, not yet.
Not yet, not 100% to be
But then again, Roccat should be the favorites, no? Against G2?
I mean, after what we saw today, clearly, they are on a winning streak on the side of Roccat. Fnatic almost took them down, and Roccat took down Fnatic, so that means Roccat has to be better than G2.
Transitive property, a little bit there.
He started it.
I definitely agree.
He's a pro player, he started it. So.
All right, can we get that on the record? Trashy definitely agrees. You're agreeing as well.
I just agree with what the official is saying.
Yeah, because he's a brilliant analysis.
Yeah.
Let's just get the predictions on the record
so
we can get the highlight for all of you at home. Roccat versus G2, is it going to be a hashtag ROC win?
2-0 stomp.
I agree.
Wow. All right. Bold strategy, Cotton. Well, our next broadcast begins tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central European Summer Time, starting off with H2K versus Origin. It's a must-win matchup for H2K in the fight for the top of Group B. However, gentlemen, I think that one may be one-sided, like G2 and Rocket.
It's like, if you're Splice right now, you're kind of like hoping Origin will win against H2K. I don't feel like the odds are in your favor when it comes to getting that second place.
No.
It's like, come on, Origin, win your first
It's also
series.
like they need to actually win 2-0 as well. So
Yes.
I think right now we're probably looking at that third place, and but then again, you never know with Peke.
Oh.
Like Peke Magic can come in left and right, and then
He's
2-0.
been delaying it
Yeah.
until week 10. It kicks in. And this is what the players believe in, the Peke magic.
The Peke Magic.
We saw Mickey Magic last split. It worked.
Yeah.
All right, so Peke Magic aside, assuming you are locked into third place, does knowing that make you feel a lot more comfortable knowing that Misfits is now, as second place team, pretty much guaranteed to be the team you're going up against in quarterfinals?
I mean, I think we are pretty close to Misfits. Like the level is really at the same level, kinda. It's just gonna come down to who is better on the day. But I feel like we have a slight advantage actually in the way that we, as a team, has played best of fives before, and we have experience, and they're rookies, and in high pressure games like in playoffs, that actually matters a lot, and maybe they'll choke. We don't know. We can only hope, right? So.
I mean, we can't hope that. You can hope that. We just want a good game. You know?
right.
We didn't hope for anything.
We want
here.
5 games every time, to be clear. And we love 5-game series.
We want the
but
5
Martin, you look at Splice, what we saw today. We look at Misfits. Of course, Misfits are probably going to show us more this week. We assume in their matches to come. However, for you, right now, looking at the two teams, does anyone have a clear edge? Is it a very close matchup?
I don't think there's a clear edge. I mean, judging of current performance, the Misfits haven't looked that strong, but it's not enough for me to kind of write them off straight away. I think actually it's going to be insanely close. And a lot of it comes down to, have both teams, have you fixed your mid game? Have Misfits, funny enough, fixed their mid game as well, because they've been super passive in that part of the game. So there's a lot that can happen over a week, which is going to be interesting. I just wonder for you guys, after having a pretty rough split where you kind of bounce back towards the end, I assume if you guys do not make at least the semi-final, it would be a huge failure of a split? Or are you more like, you know what, it's all about summer split and worlds?
I would say that's true. Like, we definitely, I think if we lose in quarterfinals, we will all be really disappointed in the split and look back on it and feel like we could have done better. So personally, I would not be satisfied with not going to the semis at least. But I think the competition has become a lot better in EU, and so being top 4 right now, I think is fair enough. But our ultimate goal is to perform well in summer and going to Worlds again, and that's kind of weird about spring. Is like, sure, you can be insanely good in spring, but if you don't show up in summer and you don't go to Worlds, then the season kind of feels kind of wasted in a way. So it's a weird mix.
I feel like always that's something I hear from a lot of Western teams, where it's like, it doesn't matter if you peak in spring because it's all about summer, which technically is true, but ideally teams are using spring split to build a lot on the ground level and kind of make sure they are like a good team. So in summer split, you just got to add like small things on top of it to become a really good team. Like, in many ways, I feel like that's what G2 is doing now. Like, they're kind of building upon what they learned from summer split, which is why they're still undefeated. They didn't come in and kind of start from a fresh. And like, I guess it's kind of like a follow-up question in that sense, because now with this rough split, I know you say it's a failure if you guys don't make top 4, but don't you feel like that you guys, the fact you had now a split where there was a lot of problems that needed to be fixed, that in the end can make you a stronger team coming into summer, even if you don't make top 4?
Yeah, for sure. Like, from how we played from the start of the split to how we play now, already just from that, I feel like we have learned a lot and are fixing some of the issues. The problem was that in summer we were winning games when we're actually just capitalizing on enemy teams being bad or stuff like this. And then when the competition becomes better and you kind of fall into patterns of playing, and you keep doing the same small mistakes that you would do in summer, but in summer you would just it would be okay because you would win anyway. And then now you kind of get punished by it, and you need to reevaluate like how you think about the game, how you play the game, all the small details. And then now I feel like we have recognized a lot of the issues that we had, even though it didn't really get exposed in summer. So we as a team has grown a lot, especially the past like 2-3 weeks, because I mean, every team has issues, right? And we have issues too. And we were just honest with each other and saying like, we're not doing this correct, or we need to fix this. And those are the kind of meetings or team talks that is needed for you to grow as a team. And if you don't have these kind of talks, then you will never really improve.
All right, to cap off the discussion tonight, you guys are going to be playing up against H2K later in the coming week. Sunday, I believe, is the first series. Now, can you kind of give me your thoughts on that series overall and how you're feeling? It seems like the team has been developing. Things look to be going well. You said you can learn from this Unicorns of Love series. Do you feel like you have learned enough and have improved enough to take down H2K?
Oof, that's a tough one. I mean, before the games on Sunday, we will know if we can even get second or not, if the game is just don't really have any value. But regardless, I think we will go into it. Maybe we will try something new. I don't know exactly, but whenever we get the chance to play like the top teams on stage, we always wanna look to gain something out of it. And we will see how much we can gain out of it. I don't know. Maybe it will be some clown games. We will see.
Science support confirmed for Mickey already.
We all remember last summer when there was a game that didn't really matter too much, right?
Science support and Talia top.
So I think what we're saying is get really excited for Sunday, folks.
Yes.
I mean, I know I'll have, if the game don't really have any value, then I know I'll have Mickey on the side. Pick me Sion, pick me Sion.
Exactly.
All
It
right.
already happened in Korea.
Mickey's eager. Yeah, we already saw it, right? Max, the Sion. Can Mickey be Max Jr.? We will find out.
So if H2K is watching, please ban Sion. So we'll have to play it. That would be nice.
All right. Well, after a very exciting start of the final week of the EU LCS, it's time for us to call it a night. Thank you, Trashy, for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow for more action on the Rift. Have a good night, everyone.
Peace.